The sirens were getting closer, but I wasn't leaving. Not yet. I've been riding for 20 years. Leather vest, scar knuckles, a beard that makes mothers pull their kids closer at gas stations. People see me and assume the worst. Most days I don't care. But that morning, everything changed. I was heading east on Route 9, just outside of Ashland, when I saw the cruiser. It was barely visible from the road, nose down in a ditch hidden by tall grass. Most people wouldn't have noticed. I almost didn't. But something about the angle of the metal caught the light wrong. I pulled over. The officer was still inside. Young guy, maybe 30. His eyes were open, but unfocused. Blood trickled from a gash above his temple. The airbag had deployed, but the steering column had him pinned. He wasn't moving much, just his fingers, tapping the dash like he was trying to send Morse code. I tried the door. Jammed. I looked back at the road. No one was stopping. They were flying past at 70 miles an hour, coffee in hand, eyes on their phones. I called 911. Then I called my brothers. Within 10 minutes, the rumble started. One bike, then 5, then 20. They came from every direction. Some from the diner 2 towns over, some from home, some for jobs they'd just walked off. By the time the first ambulance arrived, there were 50 of us. We formed a wall, not around the officer, around the scene, because the highway didn't slow down. Cars were swerving, rubbernecking, getting too close. One SUV nearly clipped the cruiser trying to film on a cell phone. A semi blasted past, so close the displaced air shook the grass. So we blocked them. Our bikes, side by side, created a barrier between chaos and a man who couldn't move. People yelled at us, honked. One guy got out and started screaming about rights and roads. He stopped when he saw the blood on my hands from trying to pry the door open. The officer's eyes found mine. He tried to speak, but his voice came out in a whisper I had to lean in to hear. Don't be afraid. I didn't understand at first. Then I realized he thought I was scared. Scared of the cops. Scared of getting involved. Maybe scared of him. I shook my head. I'm not going anywhere. His hand stopped tapping. The paramedics arrived and went to work. They had to cut him out. It took almost 30 minutes. The whole time, we held the line. Not one of us moved. Not when the state troopers showed up. Not when a news van pulled onto the shoulder. Not when a fire chief told us we could go. We stayed until the stretcher was loaded. Until the ambulance doors closed. Until the sirens faded south toward the hospital. Then, without a word, we started our engines and left. I didn't expect to hear from him again. Didn't need to. But 3 weeks later, I got a message through a mutual contact. He'd had a seizure behind the wheel. No warning. The doctor said if he'd been alone much longer, the bleeding in his brain would have been irreversible. He wanted to meet. We chose a park. Neutral ground. He showed up in jeans and a t-shirt, a thin scar still healing above his brow. We didn't shake hands. We just stood there for a second, 2 strangers who'd shared something most people never would. I remember what you said. I told him. He looked confused. You told me not to be afraid. He smiled, but was sad. I thought you were a hallucination. I get that a lot. He asked why we stayed, why we blocked the road, why we didn't just call it in and ride off. I didn't have a clean answer, so I told him the truth. Because no one else stopped. He nodded slowly. Then he said something I'll never forget. They teach us to watch for threats. But that day, the only people who saw me were the ones everyone else was afraid of. We talked a little longer. About misconceptions. About uniforms, his and mine. About how easy it is to miss someone who's dying just because they don't look like they need help. Or because the person offering it doesn't look like a hero. Before he left, he asked if he could ride with us sometime. I told him he already had. I still ride Route 9. I still see the ditch. And every time I pass it, I think about the 50 brothers who dropped everything because one of us made a call. About the man who thought we were the danger until we became the wall. And I think about how close the world came to driving right past him because they were afraid of the wrong thing.